Hello, and welcome to Volume 2 of Make It Stick, our STEM study skills series. This video is going to be about retrieval practice and why it's super important to add this skill and practice to your study arsenal. So, as always, I am Emma Barnaby, your CNMS Student Success Coach, coming to you from the CNMS Advising Office of Student Success. Okay, so quick just about this series. Make It Stick is a workshop series designed to help STEM students create study plans that work. Each video will go over one strategy for learning material. Try them out. See how you might be able to add some of these strategies into your own study toolkit. You can also make one-on-one appointment with me, the student success coach, Emma Barnaby, to discuss how you might implement these skills or to help make a personalized study plan. All right, so in retrieval practice, the main idea here is that we're testing ourselves. So, how do you know if you really know something? You test yourself. Practice recalling information and not just reading it and trying to memorize it by rote. Testing yourself has a lot of benefits when you're actually attempting to lodge something in your long term memory. So, the example I like to give here is that there are lots of skills where you can read about them, you can, you know, learn all of the kind of knowledge about them, but unless you actually do them, and I'm thinking about practical skills like knitting or cooking, you can read a cookbook, but unless you actually practice the motions of cooking, you're not going to know how to do something without burning it, for instance, or how to, knead bread dough correctly. So you actually have to practice it with your hands. And it's the same kind of idea with your brain. You can read information, it can go through your brain, but it's not going to stay in there unless you actually practice testing yourself. So for test success, you have to test while you study. Okay, so again, there are a lot of benefits to this. It is difficult at first. The harder your brain works to recall information, though, the better that actually sticks in your brain. So you're strengthening those neural pathways you're going to be using in a quiz or exam. And so you know, if you watched our first video on space practice, that's kind of the same idea. Like you're making studying really hard for you so that the test itself is easier when it actually matters. Plus, that information, if you practice recalling a lot, it's going to stay longer in your long term memory. And as I've said before, and I'll say again, college is a time when you're actually trying to learn a skill that you can use in the workforce or professional school or graduate school. So there's a bunch of things that you're learning now that you're actually going to be expected to know for your whole career. And so starting now, putting those things in your long term memory is going to make your life a lot easier if you're, for instance, applying to grad school or studying for the MCAT or any kind of other professional school test. So let's go over some strategies for how to practice. So here's a few ways you can kind of work the retrieval practice into your study arsenal with, specific examples. So flashcards, tried and true method. You write a term on one side and the definition on the other side, or you ask yourself a question on one side and you answer it on the other side. And do not flip that card over until you've actually attempted to recall what's on the other side, because otherwise it's the same thing as reading your notes. So you can use, of course, a 3x5 index card, and you can get these very inexpensively at any office supply store or, the drugstore. But you can also do this electronically via like Quizlet, for instance, or Anki. Anki is really helpful for a lot of folks because it actually helps sort things based on how well you know them. The links for both of these websites will be in the description box if you'd like to check them out. You can also study with others. So create a study group and quiz each other, which will make things a lot more fun, and you can share memory strategies. And generally, this is helpful for your focus because it can help you study in longer bursts because you're getting kind of a little bit more just socialization and there's a little bit more going on. Whereas if you're going to test yourself with flashcards, it can actually be really helpful to just take your notes directly on flashcards for your regular class notes and then use those flashcards like for 5 to 10 minutes at a time, a couple times a day to study. But with others, you can kind of do like a longer session. Okay, you can also try teaching it to someone, which is also another component of like what you should do in a study group. So, how would you explain this if you're asked to teach it? You can also do this on pencil and paper. You can, or on, just a Word document, you can just type out everything you would say in order to try and explain this to someone. And this will kind of help you identify the gaps in your own knowledge. And so where you need to go back and review. All right, you can also make practice tests. Or get practice tests if they're available. So you can ask your teacher or your professor for a practice test if they don't already make them available for you on their Blackboard site. If they don't have one, though, you can make your own. So again, this goes back to teaching it to someone and studying with others. If you were the teacher, what questions would you ask? This is also something that's really helpful to do in a study group, or you can kind of ask everyone in the study group to create like 3 questions, and then out of those, you can make a practice test. You can all take it. You can compare answers, talk about your answers. It's just a good way to kind of study. So I hope that these strategies, at least one of them, proves helpful for you. So thank you for watching. Don't forget, I am available to meet with you one-on-one in order to help make a study plan. So you can click on the Calendly link in the description box to schedule an appointment with me. See you next time.